Test one more time. Thumbs up in the back if you can hear me. Woo! Okay, let's get started. Thank you for joining tonight, and welcome to the District 2 Budget Town Hall. My name is April Aviles, and I serve as the Deputy Director of Equity for the County Executive's Office. I will be your moderator for this evening. And before I start with the program, I do want to mention the location of the restrooms. They are between this door here, where Tanner is with the laptop, right through that door if you have to use the restroom at all. All right. Now, this town hall is part of our annual Budget Town Hall series and is your opportunity to let county leaders know what you think should be funded in the county's fiscal year 25 budget. This evening, we will hear brief opening remarks from County Executive Stuart Pitman and Council Member Alison Picker. Then, the County Executive and Budget Officer Chris Trumau will share a brief presentation about the outlook for our fiscal year 25 budget. After the presentation, we will open the floor for public testimony, and you will get a chance to share your thoughts, what we are all here for. Now, before we begin, I'd also like to introduce the other elected officials we have in the audience tonight. And I believe we have Delegate Gary Simmons is here. Yes, okay, hello, hello. Wonderful, thank you for joining us. And I'd also like to introduce the county staff that we have here this evening, and we have plenty. So we have Jessica Lees is here, the current Director of Parks and Recreation. We also have Erin Day, yes, the current Assistant Director for Public Works. We have Carissa Kelly, the Director for the Department of Aging and Disabilities. Yes, yes. We have Skip Auld, the CEO of the library. Hey, Skip. And lastly, we have Marsha Briley, the re-entry coordinator for the detention facilities. So thank you all for being here. Hello. Okay, now for the good stuff. And without further ado, I would like to introduce the county executive, Mr. Stuart Pitman.
I will be brief, because some of you have been to the first budget town hall, and some of you might even come to all 8 of them. We will see. We do have some folks that are always interesting to hear from who either representing departments or a cause that is countywide, and they want to know, they want to be sure that every district of the county, the residents hear about it, and they want to make sure that I hear about it 8 times, and that the council person who's sitting next to me hears about it at each one of these events. But we've done these every year. They are incredibly valuable for us and our budget team as we go into the process. It's incredibly valuable for me to sit next to Alison Picker tonight and whoever the council representative is in the district each night that we're doing one of these, so that we hear from our joint constituencies and we turn to each other and she pushes me, usually is the way it works, and then it goes to the council and then they deliberate. But I will tell you that a lot of things have gotten into the budget as a result of these town halls. Sometimes it's things that we just didn't even know about that somebody brought to us, and sometimes it's because there's such a constituency in support of something that when we get to those final moments in the budget where we have X amount of money left and X number of projects that are not yet, that don't have a yes next to them, that something gets in there. And I have with me 9 pages, single space, very small, from the last budget town hall, typed up, that I have already gone through with my staff to talk about some of the stuff that we need to get the ball rolling on our end to be able to fund. So we're looking forward to getting another 9 pages tonight. So thank you for joining us. And I'd like to bring up Alison Picker, your Anne Arundel County District 2 representative.
Well, good evening, everybody. This is a fantastic crowd. This is a new venue for us. We typically are in one of the high school auditoriums, but I hope you find your cafeteria seats comfortable. My son was in here earlier today. I hope he was behaving himself, as he is a student here at Corcoran. My name is Alison Picker. I am the current county council member for District 2, representing Glen Burnie, Millersville, and Severn. These budget town halls, as the county executive said, are incredibly valuable for us to hear from you. Tonight is your night to really talk with us and hear from your other neighbors, because many of you email us, quietly, but it's nice to hear what other people are concerned about as well. That is the value of having these town halls. I'm excited to hear from you. I do want to spend just a brief amount of time sort of talking about some of what my priorities are, and I would like to say that I am a strong and productive advocate for not only District 2, but important county matters, and maybe effective in that advocacy with the county executive, who has, a pretty strong hand in the budget deliberations. So, I'm going to start with our operating budget, which is our, probably 80% of it is people. And it's the folks who are teaching in our classrooms and are providing public safety in our communities and who are working in all of our departments in county government. I firmly believe that for Anne Arundel County to be the best place for all, we must invest in our workforce. Not just we talk a lot about teachers. We have done incredible investment in our education system, and we need to continue that investment. But we have a whole other workforce of county government. We talk a lot about public safety, so I'm a huge advocate for making sure that we can recruit and retain the best of the best in all of our county departments. And not only that, but we need to be thinking 20 years down the road and creating career ladders in these departments so that we can sustain our high quality of life that we would like in Anne Arundel County. So that's operating. So the county executive is going to get to talk a little bit about the details. But then we have, I'm going to talk specifically about capital projects that I'm focused on. I'm extremely proud to see the Old Mill master plan coming to life with a new high school that has come out of the ground. It's been a long time waiting. And we are on track to build the remaining schools in that master plan. But I am not done advocating, because Glen Burnie High School and the middle school you're sitting in also need to see much needed investment. So the community needs to come out and share that message, not only with the county executive, but with the Board of Education. So we have to keep going and making sure we have modern, innovative, fantastic school facilities for every community in every zip code of our county. And then I've been pushing hard to make sure that District 2 and the northern part of the county sees enhancements and improvements to our parks. Just because we're up here in North County doesn't mean we don't deserve quality parks in every community. So look down the road. What park does your family go to? Where would you like to see bigger and better and nicer? And let me know. I'm advocating, we are enhancing Severn Danza. It has the potential to be a regional park in this community. I would like to see the Glen Burnie Town Center revitalized and brought to life so that we have a real gem of an urban type park, a place to go, not just drive by down those intersections. And then of course we also have, finally, Glen Burnie Library. When is it getting built, Skip Ald?
I'll talk to that in a few minutes.
Okay. But the county executive can't just hear from me. He has to hear from District 2 constituents as well. So this is, I think, in my 5 years of being at a town hall, this is our biggest crowd ever. I recognize the purple shirts. I'm excited to hear from the new blue shirts that I haven't seen before. So we got yellow shirts for Queenstown in the back. Woo! So thanks everybody for being here. Anne Arundel County strong. We have to keep investing in quality, our quality workforce. And I know you're going to hear from some of those departments today. So, but I want to hear from you. I've taken up way more time than I was allotted. But thanks for being here.
Good evening, everyone.
I'm County Budget Officer Chris Trumau. I'm going to talk a little bit about the budget. Before I do that, let me take the privilege to acknowledge another delegate has come in. Mark Chang is here. Thank you for coming, Mark. What we're going to do is run through a couple slides. I'm going to talk about what's happening in the budget now and a little bit about forecasting what's happening for the coming year, and that's designed to kind of frame what everyone's thinking as far as what the fiscal forecast looks like. So let's jump in. The first slide, this is the county exec's budget message, and you already heard from him, and this is on the website, so I'll trust you can check that out later. But this is an important slide. This is the timeline for the budget. So people think, okay, budget season is a couple months long, and then they introduce the budget, and that's it. But I can tell you, budget starts around September and doesn't end until July, so that keeps us very busy. But now is a very important time in the budget because no decisions have been made, and that's why it's important for the county executive to hold these town halls now, because we're getting the public input before he has to decide anything. So what you see now is we're in the deliberation and putting the budget together stage. Then we'll submit the capital budget to the Planning Advisory Board. The county executive will review final decisions in March and April. We submit to the county council on May 1st. Then they have 45 days to deliberate and amend and hopefully adopt a budget, which then goes into effect on July 1st. Okay, so I know what you're wondering. You're saying, hey, where's all the money come from? Well, here is where it comes from. You can see there's two bars that are much bigger than the rest. That is property taxes and income tax. So that's about 77%. More than 3/4 of all of our county revenue comes from those two sources. So please pay your tax bills. Thank you very much. Where does the money go? Here is where it goes. If anybody said half of it goes to the Board of Education, you would be right. Over $1 billion of our general fund goes straight to the Board of Education to conduct kindergarten through 12 and now pre-K activities for our 80,000 plus students. And then you can see the other core components of government are broken down, public safety, human services, land use, et cetera. But Board of Ed is the big slice of the pie there. If you want a little bit more detail, this shows you how it's spent. $881.5 million in the current year budget. That's basically one check we write to the board. They use that how they see fit. They have a pretty high degree of autonomy for that. But then we also pay for other things. We pay the debt service, which is the interest on the bonds that do the capital projects, the school construction projects. We pay for school health officers. We pay for school safety officers and retiree health care. So all that added together is over $1 billion with a B. All right, so the current year budget, FY24, we're about halfway through now, and we did some really great things in it, and I like to commend the county exec and the county council for passing that. But we were able to keep income tax rates the same or even lower for 98% of filers this year. We were able to increase the starting teacher salary by $8,000, and that made us competitive with other jurisdictions. We had hundreds and hundreds of vacancies going into the last school year, and we dramatically reduced that in this current school year. So a big success story there. We actually maxed out our rainy day fund, which is like the county savings account. So when things do go bad sometime in the future, we have some money in reserve to plug the gaps so we don't have to do extreme furloughs or layoffs or stop services. And then we were able to establish a dedicated revenue stream for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which is, I know, very important to the county exec and the county council. And then finally, my personal favorite is last year we were able to achieve a AAA bond rating from all three ratings houses, the first time in county history that's ever happened. Basically, the A+ seal of approval that the county is a good investment. So we're very proud of that. Thank you. All right, so the next couple slides we're going to talk about, hey, how does Anne Arundel County stack up against our neighbors? Well, spoiler alert, pretty good. If you look at this bar, this is the property tax comparison, and we're the gold color, okay? So what you notice there is we're kind of right in the middle of the pack there, but a little bit towards the right, which means we have one of the lower property tax rates. If you have friends in Baltimore City, they're paying over $2.2 or $2.20 per $100 of assessed value. We're paying about 98 cents. So you can see that's much less. Most of our comparable jurisdictions are over $1, And so we're getting a pretty good deal on property tax rates in Anne Arundel. Next slide, this is income tax. This is a little bit more complicated because Anne Arundel County, through the leadership of County Executive Pittman and the County Council we adopted what's called a progressive income tax rate. So this means that depending on the amount of income that you earn, you may pay a different rate. If you earn $50,000 or lower as a single income earner, then you're paying 2.7%. That's pretty much the lowest around. If you are earning over $400,000 as a single income or over $480,000 as a joint filer, you're going to pay 3.2%. Okay, but those are both kind of the extreme edges. Most filers, the vast majority of people in this room and in the county, are paying a rate of 2.81%, and that is, as you can see, the 5th lowest of all of the jurisdictions. So even though we're a major metropolitan county, we have been able to keep our tax burden relatively low compared to our neighbors, which I think people appreciate the pocketbook issues there. And then the final slide before I turn it over back to the county exec, this is showing our rainy day fund, and the blue line is what the actual level of the fund is. The orange bars are what the maximum allowable level are, and you can see throughout the last 5 years of County Executive Pittman's term, we've been able to reach the maximum allowable rate. That means we've fully stoked our county savings fund, and that puts us in very good position for if an economic downturn were to visit us in the near future. So we're now going to turn it back over to County Executive Pittman to talk about some of the investments that he has made in the current year budget.
So I know most of you are here to ask for funding for something, and I want to talk about, just to put us in the moment that we're in, some of the significant changes in funding that we've done in the last 5 years since I've been in office compared to the previous administrations. Let's start here with the green line. The green dotted line is the county general fund, and you can see the dotted line is when I came in. Actually, it could be moved over a little to the left so that FY20 was the first budget that our administration did. And, you know, it was going up gradually. It's been most years it has done that, other than during the recession. And the green line, a little bit of acceleration, but not all that much. So it's about a 30% increase in the last 5 years of the county operating budget. I put this up. I'm going to get to education as well as some other things where we've made major investments. I'm talking about police and fire here, because these are two departments, believe it or not, in this county that were underfunded drastically before. We actually have far fewer police officers and firefighters per capita than most counties our size, so we still have a long way to go to get where we need to go. But a 50% increase up to, well, over the last, from the beginning of the previous administration, it shows an increase of 67%. Of that, 50% was during our last 5 years. That was for police, 67%, for a total of 78% for fire. So we're in the process of modernizing, I guess is what you could say. And I'm sure you're going to hear more about that from some of our good officers and firefighters tonight about what the needs are and why it's important to continue to do that. If we go to the next slide, we've got education funding. And this shows maintenance of effort. It's a state law that says that you have to maintain the effort per capita, per kid. And we have generally gone above maintenance of effort in this county. If you go back further, it was actually not above, it was about at. And you can see in the first year of our administration, we got over $40 million above the maintenance of effort state requirement. Then the pandemic came, and everybody thought the economy was going to collapse at first, if you remember. We did some belt tightening, and then we started to come back. In the last 2 years, we've gotten all the way up to about $50 million over maintenance of effort. Now, I'll note that the school system's asking for $80 million in new revenue this year, so and maintenance of effort requirements haven't actually gone up. So, again, the demand is there and significant, but we are in the process of taking, I would say, this county from maybe the Stone Ages, maybe underinvested. I think most people thought we were underinvested in education and public safety and some other areas as well. So we're kind of proud of what we have done, though, and want to continue it. And then the next slide is rec and parks. And our per capita spending on rec and parks is far lower than most counties. We've looked at that. Jessica's smiling over there. But when we came in, we did increase the capital spending in particular to be able to create improvements at our parks, and we'll talk about some of the ones in this district. But the numbers there, we're now up to 52 actual projects, separate projects at different parks, and then the spending is up around 100 million. And I think this is something that long-term is gonna really benefit our kids and our kids' kids, and make this county the best place for all, right? Next slide. So affordable housing is something that you've been hearing about a lot more the last couple of years than you heard about in the past. And part of the reason is that the prices of housing just keep going up and up and up far faster than our incomes. And the housing that is being built often is being built for the top of the market rate. And so we have increased our investment in things that other counties have been doing for years, to try to have more housing that is affordable for our folks here at every different income level. And so you can see when I came in, we started to increase some support. We get federal support, but we were starting to put money from the county general fund in to do some rental assistance and some help closing the gap with some more affordable construction that was going on. And then we created this thing called the Affordable Housing Trust Fund in the county. And we funded it with the federal funds first, and now we've got a dedicated revenue source for it. And it jumped up, so about $10 million a year more than we've had in the past to help to facilitate the development of that kind of housing. Next slide is local projects. So some of these are, nobody pays a lot of attention to water, wastewater improvements, and even the watershed improvement projects we hardly even notice. Hopefully they're cleaning up the bay, but we have some of those. But schools, you've got, well, transportation, you've got some sidewalks, you've got a roundabout, and you've got, we are really trying to make this county walkable and have multimodal transportation, also improve transit, while also keeping up with the worst traffic bottlenecks in the county. We do have some challenges with state funding that hopefully will get resolved in the next couple of years so that they do their part. Our worst traffic bottlenecks are on state roads, but we have a real walkability problem in our county with sidewalks, and we're trying to get to as many of those as possible. But then jumping over to education, the councilwoman mentioned the whole Old Mill complex and the master plan that says that we got a lot of schools to build in this district. And because we did a 0.1% increase in the income tax our first year, and the council approved, that created a fund that made it possible for us to keep up with the education funding. Some of it also goes into roads as well. But what we're now calling Severn Run High School, that will be open next fall, and then the Old Mill High School, Old Mill North. So there's 4 schools here in Cat North that are in the pipeline. And major investment in this part of the county. And that is the reason why there's redistricting that has been approved by the council for the northern half of the county. And what that actually means is that we won't have overcrowded schools, which is the goal. So by doing the redistricting. Rec and parks, we've got North Arundel Swim Center improvements, including turf field. And I've got to say that your county councilwoman Picker is a fierce advocate on all of this funding, particularly on parks and schools, and can claim a lot of credit for this list. Severn Dans, the park, we acquired land next to it that was potential development site that a developer had owned, and now we're doing a master plan to figure out what that land can be used for to make it connect to the rest of the park. The ice rink finally is improved and underway, and then we've also got a couple of others that are not on this list. I think we have Sawmill Creek, which has got pickleball, tennis, and lighting going in. We've got here at Corcoran Middle a concessions building going in, and we've got parking at Queenstown, which has been underway for quite some time. And then the Glen Burnie Library we've talked about, and some parking garage improvements. But I think many of you may be here for capital improvements, and we're eager to hear what you've got in mind. So I think that's the last slide I've got, right, Chris? Sorry to go on for so long, but Chris will wrap it up, and then we'll get to you guys.
Thanks, County Executive. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the fiscal forecast looking ahead. The first thing we do is we look at the current year. We're halfway through. How are revenues coming back? Right now, I'm pleased to say they're coming in pretty much as we projected, maybe even a tiny bit better, but we still have 6 months to go, so I don't want to jinx it. And we know we have our friends down in Congress, and they could decide to shut the government down at any moment, so we got our fingers crossed that the economy remains strong. But looking ahead, we are seeing probably some reduced growth on the income tax side, but the big story is recordation and transfer tax. So this is every time there's a real estate transaction, buy or sell a house or refinance, the county gets a tiny taste of that, right? Well, guess what? No one's doing anything because mortgage rates are so high right now, so we've seen a dramatic decline in that revenue for the county. Now that's okay because we knew it was coming because rates were high, and so we budgeted for it. But the reality is that is a pretty high source of revenue that has been very depressed lately, and so that's less total income or revenue coming into the county. The other good news is on the fund balance side, because in the previous years we've overachieved revenue and we've managed to find some savings in how we do our expenditures, we are looking at having a little bit of a fund balance, which is funds that are left over from previous years that we can then deploy in the current year budget, usually in the capital budget, to help keep everything on track. So the next slide, this is going to be a chart. This is illustrating what I'm talking about on recordation and transfer tax. So the big hump on the left, that's the Great Recession, the real estate bubble. Remember, it went up and then it went down. Well, so we saw about 10 or 15 years later, we saw that started happening again, and we remembered, right? So we're like, okay, we're not going to budget for that to stay up high. We're going to know it's going to come down. So that's the good news. The dotted red line there is where we believe the kind of normal annual growth of that market should be, and you can see that it went down even below that. So that's bad news, but the silver lining is we expect at some point in the not too distant future, when mortgage rates go down to a more reasonable level, that activity will pick up, and that means there's room for future growth in the real estate market and thus the county revenues. So that's some good news looking ahead. Hopefully that materializes sometime in the next few years. If we take a next slide, we'll look at the some more details on the expenditures. This is where we think about, okay, what are we going to have to spend money on this year? Well, we have things called non-discretionary increases. These are kind of built-in increases that happen every year that we have to pay for no matter what. It's things like our debt service, our health insurance and pension contributions. We negotiate with our labor unions, our bargaining units on salary and benefits every year. So, you know, those are things we need to do. And then we have operational increases. These are things that are year to year we have to consider. The big ones this year are we paid for a lot of great new programs with our federal recovery money over the last few years. That money is now ending, so the programs that we want to continue will have to transition onto the county general fund, right? And then things are just in general getting more expensive. Everybody knows that. Well, it's the same for county government. So projects are getting more expensive. We gave cost of living increases to our employees. So all that adds up and kind of eats up the incremental revenue that we get every year. But the big one in red, if you can see it, is Board of Education funding. That is a big one because the blueprint for education has more and more regulations and mandates that kick in every year that we have to fund. It's all good stuff, but it's a lot of money, and it's happening at the same time where the amount of funding that we get from the state happens to be plateauing a little bit. So that means the county is being asked to put in more money than ever, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So this is the slide. This is kind of where it all meets the rubber meets the road. What you're seeing on the right, this is kind of a snapshot of what the county executive and his team will eventually have to consider. We put everything that costs money on there, and then we have to fill in amounts, right? And then we start with what our total amount of additional revenue is for the year. We call that incremental recurring revenue. And right now, Budget Office is projecting it's a modestly good year. We think it'll be about 80 to 90 million. That's generally good news. So it sounds like a lot of money, and it is until you start subtracting things, right? So remember I talked about those non-discretionary costs, those built-in increases. So if we add all those up, ballpark back of the envelope, but we think that'll be about 25 million bucks. So you take that right off the top. So if we started with 85, you take off 25, now you're down to 60, right? Okay, well then we got to pay our employees, right? So we negotiate pay packages, and then We attach a number to that. That's still underway, so I don't have a number to give you, but I can tell you last year when we did a 5% cost of living increase, it was about 27 million all told. So we expect it to be less this year, but just for a ballpark number, if we said 20 million, then take that right off the top too. So now we're down from 85 down to 60, another 20, we're down to 40 million, okay? Well, you can still do a lot with $40 million, am I right? Well, guess what? The Board of Ed, the superintendent's request of the county, that in and of itself was $80.5 million. So that's already double what we're projecting that we have to put towards operational costs. So now you're getting a sense of the tough decisions we're going to have to make. That doesn't even include any incremental funding we want to give to our friends at the library, the community college. Our great department directors are making requests for new and expanded programs they can do. So that slice of the pie keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and that's the tension of the budget process, to try and do the most that we can with the resources that are available. So when you get up here and ask us for stuff, I'm sure it's all really good stuff, but we have to be thinking, how are we going to fit that into the budget? All right, last couple slides here. I wanted to share some of the anticipated pressures on the budget. I've talked a little bit about some of these, but we're still in a high inflation environment. It's coming down, which is good, but it's still kind of higher than normal. Our recurring incremental revenue is shrinking, largely because of that gap in our recordation and transfer revenue. Hopefully that will recover sometime in the next couple years, but until then, we're looking at a depressed amount of revenue there. And then the state education mandates keep kicking in, and then everything getting more expensive, the debt service, health insurance, pension, retiree health care costs, it just keeps adding up. And then finally, our departmental-based budget increases to fund some of the expanded services that we've done during the pandemic. So all that adds up to a few pinch points. I think in general, the county fiscal foundation is strong, but we don't have unlimited revenue to program into new projects. So that's the tension. Last few slides here, I wanted to remind everybody that you can get a whole lot more information on the budget at our Open Arundel portal. That's aacounty.org/openarundel. And then if you really want to dig into details, we have a new utility called the Budget Data and Development Explorer, which we call the Budget Buddy, and you can actually dig into each department and look at how all the money is spent for the previous year budget. So that's a cool thing. And then finally, we want to make sure that you can see all the information on this town hall. We'll post the video and the presentation on aacounty.org/yourbudget. And then the very last slide, if you're watching at home or if any of you have friends that weren't able to come, we do look at all the email comments, so it's very important. So you can email budget-comments@aacounty.org, and your comment will be reviewed. It will be added to our list, and I can assure you that everybody goes through them, and we have made budget decisions based on public comments at these town halls before, so that they do matter. So thank you, and at this time, I turn it back over to April, yes? Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you and good evening.
Whew, okay, thank you. Everyone here, congratulations, you passed Budget 101. All right, so now for the fun part, and what we are all here for is to hear from you. So now is the time for the public testimony portion of the evening, where we get a chance to hear from you. This is your chance to let county leaders know what you would like funded in the fiscal year 25 budget. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to give their testimony. You will see a timer on the screen, can't miss it, to help you keep track of time. And for the sake of time, the county executive and Councilmember Pickman won't respond to every comment, but they are listening and they are taking notes, so rest assured, and they'll share thoughts after we've heard from everyone. So please stick around till the end so you can hear their responses. Okay, so I will start with the list of residents who indicated that they would like to speak when they checked in this evening. I will call a few names at a time, and when I call your name, please line up in that order behind the microphone right here. After we have gotten through the list of people who signed up to speak, we will then open the floor for anyone else who would like to share their budget request. If we don't have time to hear from you tonight, or you think of something else you would like to share, please email your request. Light, nice, thank you. Please email your request to budget-comments@aacounty.org. Okay, now I will call on several of you, and I will also get out of the way so you're not just awkwardly talking to me, because I can't do anything with the budget, so you got to look over there, not at me. So I will move out of the way, and then everyone, like I said, line up behind the microphone in order to speak. And then furthermore, just please speak directly into the mic so that everyone can hear you clearly. And please state your name before you begin. Okay. All right, so I have the list here, and I will read off the first few names, and then I'll move out of your way. So I have here Jessa Coulter, Brian Holtzlander, and Michael Shire. And please forgive me if I do mispronounce any names. I will try my best, but I also welcome you to correct me. All right. Okay, is it on? Yeah. Yes, perfect.
Hello, my name is Jessa Coulter. I'm a resident of District 2, and I am the Executive Director of Annapolis Immigration Justice Network. First, I would like to thank you for the support that the county executive and county government has given AIJN. With your investment in the legal and wraparound services for immigrant children, AIJN has collaborated with the Partnership for Children, Youth, and Families to ensure that the basic and legal needs of children in our county are met. The majority of children in this program have been abused, neglected, or abandoned by one or both of their parents. They are truly some of the most vulnerable children in our county. Annapolis Immigration Justice Network is requesting $125,000 in funding to continue providing this invaluable resource in our county. AIJN has provided services for over 700 residents of Anne Arundel County coming from 21 different countries. We are addressing the two biggest barriers to legal representation: cost and transportation. AIJN's model is unique and highly effective. We have a 96% success rate of favorable outcomes in court hearings. Data show that as of this past October, there are 3,678 immigration cases pending in Anne Arundel County. Less than half of these cases have legal representation. Data also show that unaccompanied children with legal representation were 7 times more likely to receive an outcome that allowed them to remain in the United States than those who were unrepresented. 2 months ago, we celebrated our first client becoming a U.S. citizen. After escaping violence and persecution in her home country, AIJN was able to provide funding for her case. She's now living safely with her family and plans to go to community college and study to become a nurse. When asked about her hopes for her young children, she shared, "I hope they grow up without fear." That is a hope I share for her children and for all children in our county. Your investment in AIJN and support of our ongoing work with the Partnership for Children, Youth, and Families will help make that hope a reality. Thank you.
Hello, Brian Holtzlander, Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters. It's good to be here, and it's so good to see everyone again. One of the best parts about these meetings every year is the chance to talk to all the other organizations, and I'm always amazed at how much we have in common. Our firefighters work at the crossroads of so many of the things that we're advocating for and that we're dealing with in the county, things from public health to access to health care, prescription drugs, housing and homelessness, food insecurity, mental health, and of course addiction, and the list goes on and on. So I just want to say that we are so proud to be on the front lines and to work with all of you guys, and thank you for all the work that you do as well. So the theme of our budget is progress. Following the decade of darkness and the recession, the decimation of our ranks during COVID, the fire department continues to recover. We desperately need to hire and train the firefighters and paramedics to meet the ever-increasing needs of our citizens and to keep them safe. And so we hope that you will join us in supporting Chief Wolford's budget and getting our firefighters the people and the resources and the equipment they need to keep you safe. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Shire with the FOP. We got a little order change. I'm going to have Tara Russ start us off today.
Thanks for the introduction. Good evening. My name is Tara Russ, and I'm a police officer here in the county and a board member of the Fraternal Order of Police. I became a county police officer after having worked as a Baltimore City police officer for almost 4 years. I can tell you that our police department is, as our chief says, the best damn police department. We are standing tall, but we are standing on a cliff's edge. Our staffing is going from bad to worse. I have seen what happens when an agency doesn't invest in its police department. I have seen what happens to the agency and what happens to the community. This is not what I want for Anne Arundel County. We have not invested in our police officers. The national average for police staffing is 2.4 officers per 1,000 citizens. Anne Arundel County is about half of that. We are not even close. Other agencies like Montgomery County, PG, and Howard County, they budget for the officers they need. In AA County, we only budget for what we think we can get. It is no wonder that our staffing has been low year after year, administration after administration. This is a downward spiral. We place more work on our officers, make them work longer hours, and make them miss time with their family. So they leave, and we have to put more work on those who remain. We have to get out of this vicious cycle and do something. We are past an emergency. We are currently downsizing our investigative unit so we have enough people just to take 911 calls. Crime is going up. We know what happens when crime goes up. Just look at our neighbors to the north. It gets harder and harder to fix the problem as residents and businesses leave. It's much easier to avoid becoming a crime-filled county than it is to recover from it. As a supervisor, I hear my officers discussing the toll it takes on them and their family. I hear officers weighing their options of staying or leaving. There are officers being denied career development and advancement opportunities due to our staffing. Please don't let us lose amazing officers who are dedicated to their career. We can only take so much. Please prioritize your police officers in this year's budget. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dwayne Rer. I'm a detective with the Anne Arundel County Police Department. I also sit on the board of the Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. In our agency, we teach our officers about how to intervene. When you see something going wrong, we have a legal and a moral duty to step up and step in, do something, help someone, prevent harm before harm happens. It's called being an active bystander. You know about this training because you signed off on it for Georgetown University asking for permission to use their curriculum. I know you know Lieutenant Shire. He's one of our instructors who teaches this curriculum. He teaches that a bystander is someone who is in position to know there is a passive and an active bystander does something to help improve the situation, to prevent harm. By being an active bystander, you encourage others around you to be active bystanders and help as well. A passive bystander does nothing. Actually, a passive bystander makes the situation worse because a passive bystander affirms to others that not intervening to help is okay. An active bystander makes the situation better, and a passive bystander makes it worse. There is no such thing as a neutral bystander. You're either making the situation better or you're making it worse. Over the past few years, the demands for our police department have gone up and our staffing has gone down. That means things are getting worse for us. If things are getting bad for the police department, you can bet that things are getting bad for our communities. Carjackings, robberies, shootings, burglaries, these are all now common occurrences, and things are getting worse. Our county council has stepped up multiple times. They have passed legislation to help us attract police officers. They found ways to fund additional police positions, but we haven't filled them. We haven't filled them because too many people cannot afford to be a police officer. The pay and the benefits just are not on par with the risks, but the county council can't fix that. Only you can. Just like us, you have a duty to be an active bystander, to step up and prevent the harm that is afflicting our county. Our police department and our police officers, you have that obligation to all of the families and citizens of this county. Don't be a passive bystander. Be an active bystander by making the situation better. Take action to prevent harm to our communities. Work together with us to solve this problem before it is too late. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ronald Ram. I'm an FOP member and have been a police officer with the county for 4 years. My academy class had 38 officers in it. 38. Today, our academy is lucky to get a third of that. Of those 38 that started with me, almost a third are no longer with our agency after just 4 years. This job is demanding. The hours are long, holidays, nights, weekends, we work them all. Time away from our families, extended hours, dangerous, tense situations. It takes its toll. Our officers are struggling. They struggle physically and mentally. In our profession, the suicide rate is 50% higher than the rest of society, and the divorce rate, well, it's just as bad. It's no wonder that our ranks are depleted so fast. For too many, it's just not worth it. Our agency is trying to recruit the best, but when you cannot get an academy class even half full, you don't get to pick the best of the best. You just have to take whoever is minimally qualified. That is a dangerous prospect for this county. Our police officers are the people who we trust to protect us as we sleep. They are the people our military service members trust to protect their families while they're deployed. They are the people we trust to protect our children when they go to school. Our communities deserve the best police officers. The best place for all should be a safe place for all. Please work with our FOP leaders to find a way to reverse the dangerous course we are set on. We need more of the best police officers if we want to be the best place for all. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Gass. I'm the Vice President of the Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. I grew up wanting to be a police officer. I started as a seasonal officer at the beach and worked my way up through 2 other police departments before becoming an Anne Arundel County police officer. This is the best police department I've ever worked for, but we are in trouble. Our ranks have been shrinking. New applicants are scarce. Officers are quitting or retiring, and they can earn a better living for themselves and their families almost anywhere else. Our salaries remain far behind Baltimore County, Montgomery County, Prince George's County, and Howard County. If we are going to continue being the best damn police department and keep our county the best place for all, we need to start doing better. We need the best and the brightest. That is who our county demands and deserves responding to our emergencies. The officers you hire today will be the leaders of our police department tomorrow. We can't just take the minimally qualified applicant. We should be hiring the best of the best. That requires you, Mr. Pitman, to make a choice. Properly funding the police department should be your first priority. You have to choose to recruit the most qualified applicants. You have to provide the best support for your officers and your department. We are not setting our police up to succeed. And when our police department fails, our county will fail. Our officers are working hard to keep the 263 homicides in Baltimore and 130 homicides in PG County out of our county. Simply put, you could spend the money now or you can pay the price later. You will pay the price with skyrocketing crime rates and lawsuits. Spend our tax dollars wisely. Invest today so we don't fail tomorrow. Invest in our police department and its officers. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Ford, and I sit on the board of directors for the Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. I became a police officer 5 years ago. My friend, you just heard mention that after 4 years, 1/3 of his academy class is gone. For me, after 5 years, half my academy class is gone already. Our police department has hired hundreds of police officers every few years, but we can't retain them. For some, they may have met minimum standards to get hired, but they can't meet minimum performance standards. Our losses in our police academy have tripled from what they used to be. For others, they just find they don't want to do the job. It's not worth the cost. For each of these officers that leave, we have wasted money. It takes nearly a year to train a police officer. That is 1 year's salary being paid for the community, getting no service whatsoever. That doesn't even count the work and cost of recruiting, testing, and vetting candidates. And then there is cost of dozens of instructors, the facilities, and the equipment needed to professionally train our police officers. Every one of those officers that departs is wasted taxpayers' dollars. Instead of attracting officers the highest caliber that are more likely to succeed by offering the proper pay and benefits, we waste that same money cycling dozens of people through training. Well, it used to be dozens. Now we're lucky if we get 1 dozen. It is fiscally responsible to invest into your police officers. If you continue to think of it as spending, then you will never truly invest in the future of our police department and the future of our county. We are struggling to keep our community safe. We need your help. We need you to decide to invest in our police departments and its officers. Thank you.
Good evening again. My name is Obi A. I am the president of the Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. I've proudly served as their representative for over 20 years. Over that time, one administration after another has set up our police department to fail. Janet Owens fired 16 police officers out of spite. John Leopold cut 40 positions, citing fiscal conservatism. Steve Shue actually created positions but did not hire officers to fill them. The graph that you showed on policing and fire was missing a key fact. It was missing the historical deficit that our public safety has been operating under. The deficit in funding that you've talked about for years and even mentioned at the beginning of this town hall. It doesn't show that we're trying to play catch up with our infrastructure and compensation. It certainly doesn't show how far behind we remain from where we should have been years ago. Mr. Pitman, I know that your father instilled in you that public safety is the most fundamental obligation of government, and that is true. And yes, your predecessors left this county with a public safety problem. In your time in office, you've asked more of us, and we have delivered. We have a world-class crisis intervention team, outstanding criminal investigators, as well as accountability and transparency that exceeds expectations and serves as a model throughout the state. We've increased our level of community engagement, and our citizens have loved that. But while we've done all these things, we have not successfully hired the next generation of police officers. Our staffing is declining, and we're failing to meet our paltry hiring goals. We are losing officers faster than we can replace them, and we have continued to express this to your administration. For years, we've sounded the alarm about this. We can continue trying to fix the blame, or together we can find a way to fix the problem. All we can do is ask you again, please take action, invest in your police officers. I know you've a hefty agenda this year, but please invest in your police officers and invest in public safety for all. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mike Shire. I sit on the board of the county's Fraternal Order of Police, representing the active and retired police officers of the county. I'm just going to tell you my story here. It's June 28th, 2018. It was 2:30 p.m. It was my first day back to work after my weekend. We worked 6 days in a row. This was day one. I was fueling up my car at Southern District Station. Over 14 years as a police officer at that point, I had trained like this would never happen. I would train like this would happen, but hoped it would never happen. A call was dispatched for an active shooter, 888 Bestgate Road. My heart rate skyrocketed. My car would not go fast enough up Route 2. But I ended up being one of the first dozen officers to arrive, one of the first supervisors. I remember taking a mental pause as I was driving through parole. I thought of my loved ones, and I realized I might not make it home that night. But if I was there, I'll be damned if he was going to hurt anyone else while I was alive. These thoughts actually calmed me. I continued mentally planning what I would do when I got there. I arrived and I gathered my gear and I rushed in with my fellow officers. As I approached the building, Rebecca Smith was crawling out. An officer told me that they'd put tourniquets on her. We stepped by her. We all pressed into the building. We had to make sure we stopped the killing. We went into the newsroom of the Capital Gazette. There were 4 bodies there, far beyond help. We didn't know if the suspect was still at large, if he had committed suicide, if there was more than one shooter. The newsroom was quiet. I organized my officers, I took a few of them, and we began searching the building. We searched it from top to bottom. While we were doing that, some of the officers that remained behind were able to capture the suspect. I spent the rest of my evening managing our perimeter, keeping officers outside from getting heat exhaustion. It was 87 degrees out. Easy to find in the press photos. I was the one that was completely sweat through my uniform. At some point, my deputy chief ordered me to eat something. I hadn't done that in the past 10 hours at least. I had a snack, and then I helped one of our SWAT officers pack up our mobile command center. He had to take it up to Eastern District because there was another emergency that required their attention. I was finally able to get up and go home around 3 a.m. I reported for work on time the next day. We talked amongst ourselves briefly and went to work. 5 more days. 4 more dead bodies. Some were elderly who passed away. Some were heroin overdose victims taken from their families by the epidemic. One was a 21-year-old who had sat down in his bedroom at his parents' house and took his own life. I'll spare you the gruesome details, but suffice to say it was not pretty. The worst thing about this job for me is telling someone their loved ones is gone.
We'll need you to conclude. We'll need you to conclude your remarks.
I am doing so. I have done this far too many times, I've had strangers cry on my shoulder. I carry those days and many more with me, each and every day, and I will for the rest of my life. I'm immensely proud of my service to my community. I work with some of the best officers, most dedicated and highly trained in the world. Many of them are here with me today. Some have been shot, some have been severely injured. Some of them have had to take the life of another. All of us carry pain. We work hard to protect you. There are not many who can do this job. There are fewer who are willing. For those of us who do, we need your support. Thank you.
Okay, I will be All right, I will be calling up the next group of people. We have Marcus Jones, Shara Day, and Paul Cogswell.
Good evening. I'm Marcus Jones, founding board member of the New Village Academy Public Charter School. New Village Academy was approved last August to operate a public charter high school in Anne Arundel County by unanimous vote of the Board of Education. It's no secret that there's a crisis of student disengagement in high school. Too many young people, especially from marginalized communities, don't see a future for themselves that high school can help them reach. New Village Academy seeks to change this by ensuring our students feel known, connected, empowered, and accountable so they can take charge of their own education and future. We'll be opening next fall for 150 students, growing to 250 at Westfield Annapolis Mall, helping to reinvent the mall as a hub of community interaction. New Village will be home to the county's first in-person school-based health center, where students and families will have access to physical, mental, and dental health services, even if they're undocumented or underinsured. Because we have to meet all the requirements for a much larger public school, building a facility like ours is expensive. In Maryland, the capital costs for construction are entirely the responsibility of our school, despite its small size. Fortunately, our selection as one of the most innovative public schools of 2024 by the New Schools Venture Fund has provided us with significant funding. We've also received more than $1.2 million locally, which includes support from Westfield Mall itself, but we need the help of the Anne Arundel County government to build our facility and serve the needs of our community in the same way that other charter schools have received from the county budget. We hope that you'll join us in doing high school differently, ensuring that we launch all our young people into thriving careers, strong character, and active citizenship by including funds for our facility construction in the budget for this coming year. Thank you.
Today I stand before you to advocate for a cause that directly impacts the well-being of our future generation. Increased benefits and pay for school health nurses and health assistants. These dedicated professionals play a crucial role in maintaining the health and safety of our students, yet their compensation often falls short of recognizing the vital service they provide. The majority of the employees of school health are also women and mothers as well, making their health and safety responsibility of children doubled. School health nurses and health assistants are the front line of defense, ensuring our children have a safe and healthy learning environment. From managing chronic conditions to responding to emergencies, they tirelessly work to promote physical and mental well-being. However, their efforts often go unnoticed, and their compensation does not reflect the significance of their role. Investigating in the well-being of our students means investing in the professionals who care for them. By increasing benefits and pay for the school health nurses and health assistants, we not only acknowledge their invaluable contribution, but also attract and retain highly skilled individuals in this critical field. Retention of staff is pivotal for our children, especially with the unfamiliarity that was forced upon us due to the pandemic. Children need steady, familiar, and safe caregivers to ensure they come to the health room during times of need at school. Moreover, the current global health landscape emphasizes the importance of having robust health care support within educational institutions. School nurses and health assistants are at the forefront of health education and preventative measures, contributing significantly to the overall health of our communities. It is our collective interest to ensure that they are adequately rewarded for their commitment to the children's health and well-being. I ask that you help recognize the dedication and hard work of these school health nurses and health assistants by providing them with the benefits and pay they deserve and need to provide a living for themselves and their families. Thank you.
Good evening, Paul Cogswell, Glen Burnie Volunteer Fire Company. I was here last year with Mr. Pitman. We talked about workers' compensation insurance for the backroom personnel, our administrative people, not just for Glen Burnie, but for the 27 other volunteer fire companies in the county that could use the funding for helping the volunteer fire service administrations. But that's what I'm here for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to call up the next 3 or 4 here. So we have Nicole Dooley, Ashley Rogers, and Skip Ald, and Melissa Curtin.
Hello, I'm Nicole Dooley. I am a District 2 resident and board member of the Friends of Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control, the nonprofit that was created almost 10 years ago by Shelters Volunteers to help its homeless animals. Additionally, I serve on Anne Arundel County's Animal Matters Commission. Thank you for acting on so many of our previous budget requests. Animal care and control has been neglected for so long. However, there are still many unmet needs. The biggest of all is a new shelter building. You both have toured our 24-year-old poorly constructed shelter. Its haphazard, outdated layout fails to meet current animal sheltering standards. Cats, for example, live in a room next to loudly barking dogs. Newly arrived dogs are examined next to cats cowering in wire cages stacked on the floor. Its main dog room warehouses almost 50 dogs who must endure incredibly high noise levels. Our nonprofit is willing to pay for those noise abatement, but an expert who recently toured the building says the huge room is not amenable to effective soundproofing. In addition, the shelter's grounds are about to shrink. The police department soon will begin building a 55,000 square foot single-story facility in the open field between the shelter and the fire department headquarters, with a parking lot that will wrap around behind the shelter. This disruptive construction, which will take more than a year to complete, will eliminate the shelter's farmyard for larger animals and the outdoor playpens where dogs now meet potential adopters. Almost all of the open space where volunteers now safely walk dogs will permanently disappear. In recent years, Baltimore City and Montgomery, St. Mary's, Calvert, and Baltimore counties have built new animal shelters. It's time Anne Arundel County does also. Thank you for listening and for considering Anne Arundel County's homeless animals.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Rogers, and I'm the branch manager of the Glen Burnie Library, the only library in District 2. Last year, more than 160,000 people visited the Glen Burnie Library with a wide range of needs. Customers came in for materials and programs, but also things like test prep materials for college and careers, tax help, and museum passes. Some people come to study or relax for several hours, or even all day. Some customers come in seeking social services support, and we are often a connector of community resources. 25,000 people attended our programs at Glen Burnie Library in 2023. We hosted homeschool hangouts, senior sip and social, and bilingual story times, just to name a few. Our public computers were used 28,000 times. We help people to pay bills, apply for jobs, send and receive important forms and documents for things like medical needs, insurance, and housing. We're currently working to distribute 7,000 free Chromebooks in our county. I'm testifying this evening on our most pressing supplemental request, fair pay for library staff. Despite the tremendous impact library staff have on their communities and last year's market rate adjustments, 80% of staff are still not paid at market rate. We aren't asking for funding for the highest salary in the state, but simply enough to make a true living wage. Anne Arundel County Public Library salaries are $20,000 less for some positions than at neighboring counties. We currently have some staff members who commute an hour each way in order to live somewhere cheaper so they can afford to work in our county. Many work multiple jobs or have to take on a roommate to make ends meet. We are seeking $1.4 million to bring these employees up to the market rate so we can ensure fairness, retain valuable colleagues, and attract the best candidates to our system. I'd like to thank you both for your support of market rate adjustments last year, and I urge you to finish the job by fully funding this year's request. I'd also like to thank you for your support for the new Glen Burnie Library. We are currently selecting an architect, and we're looking forward to gathering community input in 2024. Thank you very much.
So I would like to cede some of my time to Faith Steele, who is a trustee on our library board of trustees, and then I'll speak after her.
Good evening. My name is Faith Steele, and I am a resident of District 2. I'm also a member of the Board of Trustees for the County Library. I'm also one of those who just serves to support the library's mission to improve the communities of the county. So I'd like to thank you, Councilmember Pickard and County Executive Pitman, for this opportunity tonight and honoring the past request of the library. I'm testifying this evening in support of the library's budget, specifically to ask for the consideration of the top request of the final installment of the market rate adjustment for the library staff. Also, the library is seeking to become a Maryland Core host partner, partnering with Governor Moore's new service program for recent high school graduates to help provide them experiences for either future employment or go on to college or other opportunities. As a host partner, the library shares this commitment in developing the future of Maryland's talent. Additionally, these funds would assist library programming with such programs that we've already held as gun lock distribution, social workers at the Glen Burnie branch, and kindergarten readiness, just to name a few. Also, you heard mention of the Glen Burnie branch that's on the horizon and the new branch that we're looking forward to doing in Millersville in the future. We've also heard from our customers that the library staff provide crucial support and things such as tech support for those either who don't have computers or need assistance with their computer services. The market rate adjustment would help the library system get on par with its neighbors. And again, thank you for this opportunity and thank you for your support.
My name is Skip Auld. I first want to say, and I'll try not to choke up while I'm saying this, I think we all remember where we were on June 28th, 2018. And I wanted to thank Mr. Shire and every police officer and first responder in this room. Your story was incredible, and thank you. Mr. Pitman, Ms. Pickard, Mr. Trumau, everybody, we are, thanks to you, we are getting a new Glen Burnie Library. We are just about to select an architect. We will be seeking community input for that, so there will be community engagement process. We'll be advertising it on our website, in our libraries, and we're just thrilled. And so I just wanted to say thank you for that. That's really all I wanted to say, because we have a lot of people talking about staff salaries, which of course is our #1 priority. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Curtin. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Directors and the Chair of the Fund Development Committee for the Anne Arundel County Food Bank. Thank you, County Executive Pitman, Councilwoman Packard, for the opportunity to share input into the FY25 budget process. Thank you also for directing $1.38 million of ARPA funding in FY24 to the Anne Arundel County Food Bank. Without these funds, we could not deliver the essential daily food needed across the county that we are providing every day. I'm here tonight to ask the County Council to provide $1.5 million in financial support to the Anne Arundel County Food Bank in the FY25 budget to support the critical mission of providing food, essential nutrition, for infants, children, seniors, other individuals, and families across the county. The need for supplemental food in our community remains high. High housing costs, fluctuating food prices, utilities, healthcare, transportation, all of the necessities for life, all contribute to the challenges that individuals and families face daily. I was born to a young single mother who at times would go without eating so that my brother and I would have food. My heart aches for the mothers and fathers who have to make these types of decisions every day. It's hard to imagine that there is such a great need for supplemental food in Anne Arundel County, a beautiful county with gorgeous homes, boats, and more. But there are deep pockets of poverty all over this county. There are people who are working very, very hard every day to make ends meet, and they need our support. I respectfully urge the County Council to invest our county resources where they can have the greatest impact in our community by providing $1.5 million in funding for the Anne Arundel County Food Bank in fiscal year 2025. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here tonight.
Okay, next up we have Vicki Delaire, Gary Falls, and Joe Adavich.
Hi, good evening. Thank you guys for hearing my testimony tonight. My name is Vicki Delaire. I am the Executive Director of the Love Wins Movement and the Missions Leader at the Church at Severn Run. I'm also a resident in the County of District 2, and thank you all for allowing me to testify tonight. You have a lot of important issues to tackle and address and hear from, and so this is a really important night. But I'm here tonight to ask you to provide the $1.5 million in financial support for the work of the Anne Arundel County Food Bank for the fiscal year 2025 budget. Currently, the Love Wins Pantry serve about 2,500 families a month. It's about 650 families a week, over 9,000 individuals, and they're not the same people. We get about 50 new families coming through that are residents in our county every single week. So these are not people that are sitting looking for a handout. These are mostly falling into that Alice population, the people that are working, they have jobs, they have kids, they have all of the things that everybody that it looks good has, but they are not able to make ends meet. There's just too much month left at the end of the money. So we just really need to address this Alice population, because if we don't, then nobody else will be able to help them with resources because they don't qualify for things. So each and every week, the food bank provides us with quality foods, thousands of pounds of it. Meats, dairy, produce, shelf-stable items that allow us to provide meals to these families. Please note that we would not be able to provide food to even half of the people that we're reaching right now if we didn't have the Anne Arundel County Food Bank services. And these, again, they are not people that are not trying their hardest to make ends meet. I can tell you that my aunt accesses services from our pantry each and every week because she is a disabled widow who is raising 3 grandkids on her own because of my cousin's addiction issues. I can tell you that we have an immigrant family whose husband has cancer, and she serves with us each and every week because they don't want to just get a handout. They want to help. So we need to keep funding the Anne Arundel County Food Bank in any way that we can possibly do so. So I respectfully ask you to invest our county resources where they can make the greatest immediate positive impact in our community by providing the $1.5 million in funding for the Anne Arundel County Food Bank for the fiscal year 2025. Thank you all for all of the hard work that you do and your support. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gary Falls. Everyone knows that Glen Burnie High School is going to turn 100 years old this year. 100 years old. The newest building on the campus is almost 50 years old. It's wonderful, it's fantastic that we have all these new high schools going up in the county: Savarna Park, Crofton, Severn Run, Old Mill. It's only fair and it's only right that Glen Burnie High School be put into the budget to get a new school. Fiscal year 24, they're allocated roughly $10 million for renovations. That's, if you've ridden by the school lately, they have new windows. That's nice, it's really nice. but it's only fair that the students, the future students of Glen Burnie High School have the same technology and the same chances all these new schools are having. If you have an idea of where to put a new Glen Burnie High School, I have a possibility. Marley Station Mall. Marley Station Mall is a dead mall. Tear it down, or even renovate Marley Station Mall to put new classrooms. There's 4 large buildings that could be renovated, plus the inside of the mall. Or tear the whole thing down, put Glen Burnie High School and Corcoran High School, or junior high, well, I'm junior, middle school on the same property. So I just ask that, if only fair, for the future students of Glen Burnie area have a new updated high school and middle school to go to. Thank you.
Good evening, County Exec Pitman and Councilwoman Pickett. My name is Joe Divinola. I represent Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters, the largest public safety union in the county. We operate 31 fire stations in the county. Out of 31 stations, only 5 stations operate with the minimum National Fire Protection Association standard of 4 firefighters on each apparatus. Year after year, I've spoken about how understaffed this fire department is compared to the surrounding jurisdictions. We had a chance the last couple of years to apply for the federal grants to increase staffing that will be paid by the federal government for several years, but the county did not want to incur the cost of keeping firefighters after the grant was up because it was too costly. Well, now that cost, like our own home budgets, have gone up for staffing. So did capital budgets like building new fire stations to replace old decaying buildings. The cost to build new apparatus and operational budget has almost doubled over the last year to replace old apparatus. You see, just to stay status quo, the price for the fire department has risen tremendously. Your professional firefighters have done more with less for years now. We have had so many close calls on losing one of our own. To be quite honest, we have been very lucky. We rely on our brothers and sisters to have our back on a fire, not luck. And I want you to think about this, Mr. Trumau. There is no monetary amount equal to the price of one of my members' lives, or any resident in Anne Arundel County. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Robert Birkendyer, Stephen Chambers, and Lisa Ingram.
Good evening. First, Robert Birkendine. I'm a 48-year resident of this county. It's really good to see all my neighbors here, fighting for what we believe in. That's what this is all about. I'm a member of FOP Lodge 70, but I am not representing FOP Lodge 70, as Obi breathes a sigh of relief. I'm a disabled law enforcement officer with this county. I can't feel my left foot right now. My leg looks like a crinkle-cut French fry, but I'd do it all over again if I could. Your departments are top-heavy. You need to look at that. If someone calls the police, they're not getting a major from headquarters. They're getting boots on the ground. Fire department, I imagine, is the same way. As far as affordable housing, seems like there's plenty of room down South County. We're on top of each other here. So I can only imagine how hard this job is, and I appreciate you coming out and listening and everything. But we need boots on the ground for these essential services. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Steve Chambers. I'm a resident of District 2 in Glen Burnie. It's my first time talking here, so I appreciate your time listening to me. What I would like to mention is the roads. Go down by the Glen Burnie Town Center. As a prior military, I've driven tanks down dirt roads that are more smooth than that road going through there. And, you know, I understand you're all for parks. Parks are nice, but you got to take a road to get to the park. The police have to drive the roads to get to their calls. The fire department has to drive the roads to get to their calls. So we need to invest more in the roads and infrastructure. It has to have a higher priority because it's tearing up the vehicles and it can cause wrecks, accidents, possibly people's lives. So the roads, I feel, needs to have a higher priority. So I just wanted to add that. I also wanted to add, as a prior law enforcement, I fully support the police department. What they said, we should be fully behind them. Be fully behind them, 100%. They ought to be a higher priority on our list because they are the first in danger while being scrutinized in the process. So they protect all of us citizens sitting in this building and in this county. So thank you for your service. That's all I have to say.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Ingram. I'm a District 2 resident, and I have volunteered at Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control for 12 and a half years now. I am asking you tonight to replace the outdated shelter, which was built in the year 2000. Our county is far different today than it was 24 years ago. About 110,000 more people live in Anne Arundel County now. More people mean more pets. There are about 53,000 additional dogs and cats in Anne Arundel County than there were 24 years ago, an increase of 29%. That translates into more customers for animal care and control. Equally important is how much the shelter's policies have changed. When the shelter was built 24 years ago, all pets were euthanized after just 5 days if they were not adopted or reclaimed by their owner. They died even if there were plenty of empty cages. Dogs who looked like a pit bull could not be adopted at all. Today, no deadline is put on how long an adoptable pet can stay at the shelter. A couple of weeks ago, a dog, a pit bull mix, was adopted after being at the shelter for 132 days. It's not unusual for cats to spend weeks or even months at the shelter before adoption. Longer stays, of course, mean the shelter has more pets in the care than it did back when all the animals died after 5 days. The national standards of care for shelter animals have also vastly improved over the last 24 years. It's no longer acceptable to house cats right next to barking dogs. It's no longer okay to warehouse 50 dogs on a cold concrete floor in one huge loud room, but that's what we have now in the kind of shelter that we currently have that was built 24 years ago. Because after all, no pet was going to live there for more than 5 days. The staff and volunteers have done all they can to improve this outdated shelter, but we now need a new one. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Catherine Rappel, Chris Dyson, and Thomas Marston.
Hello, my name is Catherine Rappel and I live in District 2. I've been a dog volunteer at Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control for several months. Before that, I was a dog volunteer for Montgomery County's public shelter, which handles roughly the same number of pets that Anne Arundel does, but has a much larger budget, considerably more staff, and a much newer, far larger shelter. One example of the difference, Christina Lopez, the volunteer, foster, rescue, and special events coordinator for Animal Care and Control, does the jobs of at least 3 employees at Montgomery County's shelter. Montgomery has a full-time person running its volunteer program, a full-time person to oversee its foster program and rescues, and at least one full-time person that runs public outreach. In 2023, Christina oversaw 84 volunteers who contributed over 21,000 hours to the shelter, the equivalent of almost 11 full-time employees working for free. She also oversees more than 200 shelter foster families and the pets constantly going in and out of those homes, more than 680 animals in the past year. She arranges for the shelter to be represented by volunteers at dozens of weekend and evening public events and attends almost all of them herself. She runs the shelter's huge Halloween party, decorates it for big holidays, and organizes the massive amounts of donated pet food and supplies the shelter gives to the needy county pet owners each December. She arranged for 346 shelter pets to leave with rescue partners this past year, and she is constantly asked to help injured or ill pets because the shelter also desperately needs an additional veterinary technician, and she happens to be a very good one. Please add 2 more employees to share Christina's duties and also budget for another
dwelling unit legislation, I think, is paramount for bringing affordable housing to our county. Unfortunately, 7823 did not pass. Reasons I'm not aware of, but let me propose something to you. If 7823 had passed, the budget that Mr. Trumau put together would have shown future expenditures to enable 7823 to facilitate the actions to bring affordable housing to the county. So, bring you back to ADUs. Additional dwelling units are small dwellings directly connected to the residents, the people who live on the land. They don't have the relationship to a developer. When you connect that way, you bring family members together. ADUs can facilitate better rent control, a housing that enables elderly to shelter in place, and transitional housing because it's knitting together the family. Find a way to make ADUs reach that incentive that you were placing in the 7823 legislation. Introduce it as an ADU advantage and elevate what ADUs should be finding for us. If I'm an elderly person, I have a daughter or son, I want them to live in my house, I can't afford to live in expensive housing that is for seniors. But I can live with my children and watch their children, my grandchildren. That's an ADU. I can put my daughter into a small space while she learns to work in the area and receives affordable housing. Look at this as an option for bringing affordable housing to our county because you've done the right thing with ADU legislation. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Tracy Williams Sims, Paula Berinsky Hendry, and Bernie Robinson.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for the great opportunity to speak on this at this budget town hall meeting. My name is Tracy Williams Sims. I'm the president of the Severn Improvement Association. Our physical building is on Queenstown Road. We as a community strive to compete with the locals as far as their surrounding communities and represent and continue commitment, dedication, and enthusiasm. Our mission is to bring about physical improvements to our community and to work to meet the needs and concerns of the community as it grows and promotes communal good. Over the past several months, we've had many meetings and discussions about the changes that are going on in our community, both good and concerns of the changes that are happening that we are not happy with. As we comb through the many documents, as the Alderman showed us earlier in reference to our perusement that we enjoy with the county, it often brings me back to the facilities that are in our community, like our Parks and Recreation facility. As Allison mentioned, we all need quality parks. Excuse me. Parks are a tangible reflection of the quality of life within a community. Right now, our community has a beautiful park. However, our park is primarily a big new parking lot. We would like to have a park that is open to an enjoyable area that everyone can visit. An enjoyable park that is open and kids and parents ride by and say, "Hey, Mom, can we stop and play at this park for a while?" It needs to be open where we feel safe. We may also have an opportunity to enjoy a pavilion, a completed walkway that we can walk and circle the entire community in our park area. That would be awesome. We would like to have a park that we would be able to have an opportunity to meet with families and friends and commune together, where we might have an opportunity to have a picnic at a pavilion space. Our park was dedicated in the 1980s, and of course, by the Parks and Recreation Department. We would like to see an area where we can all meet together, have a walk, a bike trail, have an area where we can all sit and have a conversation, maybe even a workshop in a building that's there at our park. In conclusion, these upgrades to Queendale Park are feasible and beneficial to our community and the Anne Arundel County community. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Paula Hendry. I'd like to speak about the Annapolis Area Imagination Library, the local affiliate of the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Our mission is to increase literacy skills in young children by gifting them free, high-quality books each month by mail. Because over 2 million books are mailed out each month by the national organization, the cost is very low, $2.20 per mailed book. Imagine a young child with many colorful and interesting books in their home. They learn how to hold a book, how to listen to the words, and look at the pictures, how to distinguish sounds and letters. Most importantly, he or she learns that books are entertaining and are filled with wonderful information. When this child begins kindergarten, they are likely to be very eager to learn to read. Then picture a child in a neighboring apartment or home with no books at all, not an uncommon situation. When they arrive at kindergarten, they haven't experienced the value and pleasure of reading. Learning letters and sounds is hard work, and they may not be motivated to do it. Our goal is to have more of the first child, no matter what their economic level or background. We know that fewer than half of our county's kindergarten students are tested as ready to succeed on the Maryland Kindergarten Readiness Test. Research tells us that having many high-quality books in the home is a better predictor of school success than having a parent with a university education. Children with at least 20 books in the home get 3 more years of schooling than children from bookless homes. Right now, we serve 1,700 children in Annapolis, Brooklyn Park, and Fort Meade. Each month, a book comes directly to the child at their home, free, high quality, and interesting. We hope to expand our service in the next year to Glen Burnie, and we will apply for a community support grant in order to do that. However, in many Maryland counties, the District of Columbia, and over 20 states, local governments support this program to help ensure children's success in school. We are hoping that the Anne Arundel County government will join them so that more children will succeed in kindergarten, in later school years, and in life. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I have more bullet points. I'm Bernie Robinson, AKA Bernie from Glen Burnie. A few of you may have heard that before. I'm also chair of the Anne Arundel group of Sierra Club. However, I'm not here representing them. I'm speaking as a citizen, although there is some overlap, representing Explore, Enjoy, and Protecting the Planet. I want to appreciate County Executive Pitman's environmentally. He's the most environmental county executive in memory. And furthermore, his support, as well as Alison Picker's co-sponsoring the reusable bag bill for Anne Arundel County. Yahoo! And we look forward to some more environmental legislation. That will save the county landfill costs and litter pickup. So bullet points. Rec and parks are have far lower funding than others in the state and other counties. We need more focus and on conservation of existing parks and forests, because that's easier than spending additional funds, such as for every acre of one step back, because it's then 2 more steps forward of purchasing additional forest coverage, which we need. Our region, which is Millersville, Glen Burnie, Severn, the SAC region, which District 2 is in, has the least amount of forested area in the entire county. And much privately owned forests are still around here. They should be purchased by the county now while they still exist, before in the coming years and decades they're ultimately expensed. The County Plan 2040 has prioritized a healthy natural environment with frequent mention of the need for adequate green space, which forests provide. Thank you very much, and we hope you can fund as much as possible in that category. Thank you both.
Okay, next up we have Joanne Zoller, Nicole Disney Bates, and Demita McDonald.
My name's Joanne Zoller. I live in Glen Burnie, District 2. I also have the honor of serving on the Region 3 Stakeholders Committee, which includes Glen Burnie, Severn, and parts of Millersville. Through the meetings that I've been to so far for the Region 3 Stakeholders Committee, I've learned an awful lot. Some of it has been very inspiring, and some of it has been a little bit concerning. So that's why I'm here today, because I noticed in Executive Pitman's invitation to the meeting tonight, he was saying budget is about priorities. So I thought, I'm not going to worry about the money part of it. I'm just going to talk about priorities. So as Bernie Robinson said, our district has the least green space of any district in the county, and that I learned that when land is under the control of recreation and parks, they have full control over what happens there, and the Office of Planning and Zoning has very little control because it's already designated as parkland. So the only control over what Recreation and Parks decides to do with any parcel of land that's under their control is the budget. So I'm talking about priorities for the budget regarding the kind of plans that Recreation and Parks makes. And so some of the Recreation and Parks plan options have been very concerning because they involve cutting down large swathes of trees. And I'd like the budget process to consider the Plan 2040 prioritization of a natural, healthy environment and make sure that Rec and Park plans align with that priority. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nicole Disney Bates, and I am the TAC president. I want to say first, thank you for your support of our teachers and related service providers. Because of you, we received a 6% COLA, and that was awesome. But we just aren't keeping up. As of today, we have 118 vacancies. That's a number that our system cannot keep up with. How many kindergartners no longer have their teacher, or their class is covered by a sub? What about the students whose special educator left and they were right on the cusp of learning to read? The art teacher, the PE teacher, the calculus teacher, the SLP, the OT, the PT, the connections lost. The progress stopped because people keep leaving. But we need to keep our staff here. And much like the funding that you put into the education budget to attract our teachers, now we need the funding to keep our teachers. The time to be competitive is now. We need fully staffed schools because it is impossible to work with less, as I've heard many times tonight. And the more we ask, the more that people will leave. So today, I implore you to fully fund the education budget and keep making ACPS awesome. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Demita McDonald, a member of the library's Board of Trustees and Foundation Board, as well as a member or as a resident of District 2. I want to thank Councilwoman Pickard and County Executive Pitman for your incredible support of our libraries, especially last year's historic increase in salary adjustments for our amazing library staff. I joined the Board of Trustees and Foundation Board because our libraries are community resources that provide opportunities for learning, connection, creative expression to people of all ages and stages of life. Tonight, I urge your support for the top priority for the Library Board of Trustees and our CEO, Skip Auld, the final installment of salary adjustments for our dedicated library staff. The library provides our community with valuable resources such as job training, tutoring, kindergarten readiness, digital access, and a safe haven for kids and teens, just to name a few. Last year, our libraries offered over 6,000 programs to our community. Every day, library staff are helping people live better lives. We know from our compensation study that most of our library staff are underpaid. Nearly 80% are not at parity with their peers in Baltimore or Prince George's County. Some are underpaid by thousands of dollars and have been for years. We made headway last year with the historic increase in salary adjustments, and we can finish the job this year. I'm asking for your support for $1.4 million in salary adjustments. To ensure we maintain a high level of service, we must pay our library staff what they deserve. Thank you so much for your support of this request.
Okay, now we will open the floor for anyone who has not yet spoken. If you would like to present your budget request, please line up behind the microphone now.
Hello. My name is Ariel Mayberry, and I'm representing the Queenstown community on behalf of the Severn Improvement Association. And we are asking that the fiscal year 25 budget accommodate traffic speed cameras along Queenstown Road. The 2-mile-long Queenstown Road, established in 1852, bought and built by free African Americans, a home to a national landmark, a Rosenwald School, is one of the oldest communities in Anne Arundel County. In recent years, Queenstown Road has severely struggled with overwhelming increases in the traffic flow, as it is mostly being utilized as a shortcut route from many intersecting roads, as well as the home of several commercial establishments and their commercial vehicles. According to Anne Arundel County's Vision Zero, within 5 years, from 2016 to 2020, of the 32 traffic accidents that occurred, 14 were related to human behavior. That's almost half. Plan 2040's Built Environment Goal 3 reads, preserve and strengthen the county's existing and historic communities by encouraging resident participation in planning processes, with particular emphasis on involvement of historically underrepresented and marginalized communities. That does sound like us. Furthermore, there is a proposed development, Severn Retreat, that is currently in the preliminary planning phases with OPZ, that plans to build a 192 condominium development, workforce housing units on Queenstown Road. The influx of traffic this development will generate upon our current ordeal will be paralyzing to the Queenstown community. More specifically, Plan 2040's policy Built Environment 3.2 reads, ensure infill development and redevelopment in existing residential neighborhoods are compatible in scale, use, form, and intensity with the surrounding neighborhood character. Our hope is that if Anne Arundel County sees our community's land fit for use in their region planning for the future, then Anne Arundel County will see fit to pour into our community, especially an existing and historical one, such as Queenstown. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Marla Sullivan, and I am representing Hope for All, the nonprofit. On behalf of Hope for All, I would like to extend our gratitude and for the confidence and trust you have placed in us over the years. In fiscal year 23, Hope for All helped almost 2,000 individuals throughout the county. The Community Support Grant was integral in helping more than 350 of those individuals in our Turning Houses into Homes program. All families served were income constrained and unable to purchase the most basic furniture and household items needed as they moved into permanent housing. In other words, because of your funding, people no longer had to sleep on floors, they had tables to eat at, and were provided with the basic goods to help turn their house into a home at no cost to them. More than 70 community partners rely on us to fulfill the needs of the clients who approach them. Thanks to you, no one was disappointed. As many of you know, there are long wait lists for housing that have increased over the past few years to 30,000. As Anne Arundel County continues to fulfill the increasing need for permanent housing, Hope for All will continue to be a valued asset for the community and for the county, especially right here in Glen Burnie, which is the largest area we serve. In the first 6 months of this fiscal year alone, we have already seen a 30% increase in the number of referrals coming in our Turning Houses into Homes program. With the increase in referrals and the rising cost of goods, our staff, volunteers, and all of the communities throughout the county are working even harder to support our mission and provide all clients with the essentials necessary to create a healthy home. Hope for All is asking for your continued support in this mission to bolster the dignity of families by helping to turn that empty house into a warm and loving home. Thank you.
Hello, I hadn't planned to talk tonight, but there's some really worthwhile programs that you really can't argue against funding. So I had a thought, something that was important to me. The Department of Recs and Parks now has 10 parks under future development plans. I was thinking this might be a good time to not fund these projects for anything other than the green space that they currently provide in terms of mitigation for climate change, watershed protection, habitat for wildlife, and to spend the money you have for projects like first responders and home, projects for homeless. Some of these, I guess the one I'm most familiar with is Marley Creek Park because I live close to it. And it's functioning right now without any development, and it's providing many, many benefits to the community. And I just can't see spending money for something that's already functioning when you have so many needs elsewhere. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Hello, I'm Jennifer Stivers. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I saw something on the news this morning just about animal shelters being full and being related to housing crises. So I'm obviously here to support animal care and control, but I also, non-budget wise, like whatever you can do to impact the laws to help people keep their pets, especially in homeless shelters and that kind of venue. We try to keep pets with their families at the shelter. We have programs that, might be 30 days that will hold on to someone's animal while they're looking for housing. And I actually heard that a dog that was reclaimed, one of the housing affiliates was holding on to that dog while the person can find more suitable housing. So law-wise, whatever you can do, we would greatly appreciate it.
Okay, I want to thank everyone for the great dialogue tonight. I know it is cold, it's late, and I'm sure everyone is probably tired, so, but y'all still showed up, and that means a lot. So I am truly honored to hear from everyone today. And now I'm also going to mention that if you have any additional budget or additional comments to share related to the budget, you can email them to budget-comments@aacounty.org. And now I will turn it back over to our elected officials for closing remarks, and we will begin with Councilmember Pickard.
Do you want me to put it on here? Or no? Okay.
Well, this is my 5th budget town hall, and I just want to say I'm so pleased to see the crowd tonight. I don't think this is the first time I've made these remarks at the end, but I'm also pleased to know that nothing was a bit of a surprise tonight. So that means you're also, not only did you come out tonight and communicate, but you're communicating on a regular basis with your elected officials, which makes local government truly where the rubber hits the road. Okay, I might not have known that y'all want a new building at the animal shelter, but I do know that now. But I also want to say, look at our purple shirts, who've started a trend. We now have blue shirts and yellow shirts. So very serious topics were brought up tonight. Everything from education to public safety to housing, some things that weren't even budget related particularly. And I heard you. I took notes. I'm sure, hopefully, Kristen was taking some notes too, because mine are a bit of a mess. But we have a lot of work to do in Anne Arundel County, and I think that was heard loud and clear. We have underinvested in our county for decades. We've started to keep up. We've started to increase that investment over the last 5 years, but we still have a ways to go. So keep communicating, keep showing up, and tell your friends and neighbors to come out next time as well. So I'm going to give it back to the county executive. He's got the hard work with May 1st on the horizon.
I'm going through all my notes here and trying to, this is impossible to get into the level of detail of conversation I'd like to have on every one of these issues. We don't have time, so I won't try. But I do want to just briefly touch on a few things, maybe working a little backwards. I mean, there are a lot of organizations that are here that are doing incredible work. Somebody who was talking about the food bank and the need for that mentioned the ALICE population. If you don't know what that is, it stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. It's the folks who are basically, paycheck to paycheck. You get a government layoff or something, and you might actually, then the next thing might be an eviction notice, and the next thing, it just spirals downward. And that is 1/3 of the population of Anne Arundel County today. That is sort of shocking when we think about being a wealthy county. So all of the organizations, Hope for All, I do have to mention, because I'm sure you've been there. I took a tour there when I first came in. I was at Sarah's house on MLK Day volunteering, and they mentioned Hope for All because when they move people from homelessness into transitional housing or into permanent housing, they always go to Hope for All to get the furniture and the stuff that folks need when they move in to make a house a home. And the food bank, a lot of these organizations we funded with federal money at higher levels than we've ever done before because we had the federal money post-pandemic. And one of our challenges in this budget is how to continue to do the work that was so important with that money. And so that's what we're scratching our heads working on, aren't we, Chris? The school health, I'm glad was mentioned. Most years we hear more on school health. Our school health staff is absolutely underpaid, underappreciated, and does amazing work in our schools, and we have to continue, building them back. I'm glad roads were mentioned. It's one of those basic things that Public Works does that we sort of forget and don't notice. keeping up. You know, they have a pretty good system compared to most counties, and they rank themselves and they compete between counties to see whose roads are at the top level versus the next level and the next level down. But you can bet that that's a priority, and that they're essential. Animal care and control, you know, this is the first time that I heard somebody talk about the facility as, you know, when you say 24 years old, well, that's not that old compared to most buildings, county buildings. But when you say that it was basically built for euthanasia, built for animals who stay for 5 days, that does really kind of is a shocker, and it explains a lot of the reasons for why the facility is the way it is. I'm not making promises. Obviously, that's a big capital project, but we definitely recognize some major challenges at animal care and control that the animals are paying the price. Queenstown folks, it took a while before any of the yellow shirts got to the front of the room, and I wasn't sure what you were going to talk about because there's been so many things in the last couple of years. When you got down to speed cameras, I sort of was glad because we can deliver that because we just got state legislation authorization in the county to do speed cameras in a community where the community asks for it, where they know that there's a traffic issue. So we're working on the contract right now to be able to do those, to be able to address speed. But you know, that community is an example of zoning decisions that got made that should never have been made, where they've mixed industrial and residential, and folks are suffering from that right now, and we're struggling with how to address it. Queenstown Park, I'm glad to see you're looking at it. There's been some major county investments in recent years, and I hope that you bring the parade back. That was one of my best days early on. I think I was still campaigning, actually. The parade, issues there, but I've always said, and I continue to believe, libraries are like community centers. We don't really have community centers in this county, and the services at our libraries are incredibly broad. In fact, I'm going to be there, I think, tomorrow with the new Chromebooks distribution, packing those up for families. Glad that the fire department was here. Thank you for representing. You missed the first one. Might be the first of all that you've ever missed. But our firefighters are building back, are modernizing. It's been a long road, and we have to continue that. And for our police officers that came out in force tonight, at the last budget town hall, and I assume you'll be at all of them at this point. First of all, Mike Shire, I had not heard that story. I had no idea that you were there that day. I know that we have some mutual friends who were. So thank you for telling the story. You know, that it does come down to staffing. And they did not bring this up, but the leadership has made a decision that a number of officers are going to be moved back onto patrol who are in special units. And when you have to start making decisions like that, yes, we need patrol because that's the backbone of our police department, but it is once again disrupting lives and meaning that wherever we're taking them from, we're losing something. The numbers have been incredibly frustrating for me because I came in and campaigned on increasing the numbers of sworn officers from the below 700 actually that we were at when I came in to at least the number that the International Association of Police Chiefs recommended, which was just over 800, 820 I think it was. But that was now many years ago. And I have looked recently at those comparisons, exactly what you said about our number of officers per capita, and we are incredibly low. I think we may be the lowest in the state, or one of the lowest in terms of the number of sworn officers. But they, we are at 766 as of at least a few days ago, when we got our most recent, is our number of sworn officers. We hit 806 in 21, and we thought, okay, we're finally getting there. And then the goals started moving up, of course, but we hit 806. But then the next year we dropped to 770, then 761 last year, and right now we're at 766. So the answer is partly having the best compensation package we can possibly have to recruit. That's true of all of our positions. We are near the top, and our $20,000 hiring bonus, there are 2 counties doing that now for recruitment. We have 3 officers that are on the recruitment team. The work and the creativity by the police department in recruitment has been impressive, but not good enough. And I don't have answers. I know I have a meeting with the command staff coming up about this. I will sit down with you all at the FOP again. We have to be careful that we're not talking about contract negotiations during contract negotiations, but we do get a lot of our best ideas from the officers on recruitment and staffing. So we're going to continue to work on that. So we're going to continue to work on all of these things. We're not going to have as much money as we'd like, and we're going to make some tough decisions. But thank you for being here and sharing your passion and making our democracy work. Thank you.
And just real quick, on behalf of the county, I'm sure Mr. Pitman shares my thank you to our partners in the school system. I see Principal McCann still here. I hope Jamie was well behaved today at school. Oh, well, that's helpful. Okay.
Did I leave out schools? Oh my God.
No, you didn't leave out schools. I just want to thank them for opening their schools and still being here tonight. But thank you, everybody. Be safe going home.